I'm Corel Lahara, back on the desk with you all to continue to guide you through the day's top stories and, of course, big breaking news that we've been getting to throughout. And one of those being this. Take a look. Daybell, the Doomsday Prophet, sentenced to death for the murders of Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell. Now, this just broke earlier today. This tweet courtesy of Fox 10's Justin Lum, and Justin is in studio with us right now. Justin, you've been covering this case so extensively throughout. Just tell us about maybe the big deal that this is for a jury to sentence Chad to death in Idaho.
Exactly right. This case is complex. It's been a bizarre saga. And when you really talk about this long road to justice for the family members of these three victims, Tylee, and Tammy, all murdered back in 2019. The death penalty, huge in this case, because for Chad Daybell's co-defendant, also convicted murderer, his wife, Vallow, last year convicted in her trial, the death penalty was not on the table. In this case, the jury basically believed, it was proven by the state's prosecution, that there were enough aggravating factors in the depravity and how these victims were killed, the remuneration, basically the payment off of these deaths. We're talking about life insurance policies, social security benefits that came and were received after the fact. These three innocent people were killed. Really, it took a total of 8 hours for the jury to deliberate between yesterday afternoon into the evening, and then coming back this morning on a Saturday because this jury of 12 has been sequestered since closing arguments earlier this week. Come back, deliberate, and come to this decision are really a huge break in this case for law enforcement, the prosecution, the family members of these victims who have been waiting for justice for such a long time. Now, Chad Daybell sentenced to death for these three murders.
That's a pretty interesting fact that the jury was sequestered and they delivered a decision on Saturday. Is this normal? And furthermore, it took them 8 hours to reach this verdict and that sentencing for Daybell. But this case has been going on for years now. Maybe talk about the timeline from the beginning to how we got to this point.
Yeah, and real quick, this jury has seen a lot. 9 weeks of trial. The jury selection began on April 1st. They have seen dozens of witnesses, at least 67 witnesses called by the state alone, seen such graphic evidence, and coming in not knowing this complex case at all and seeing what they have seen. And then after closing arguments, the sequestration began, the guilty verdict, and then deliberating on the death penalty sentence here the past couple of days. But this all begins in December of 2019, really, for the public, when these two children, 7-year-old Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, were missing. And Vallow, their mother, and her new husband, Chad Daybell, were not speaking to authorities or cooperating in the search for these two missing kids that are from Arizona originally. They had only moved to the East Idaho area for about a week in the fall of 2019 before these two murders happened. So all of this stems from a love affair between Vallow and Daybell that have been going on since Vallow was already living here in Arizona. And about a month after the children are believed to be killed and buried in Chad Daybell's backyard, nowhere to be found, remember, for several months. A month after that, his wife at the time, Tammy Daybell, was suffocated. She suddenly died, but at the time it was a quick funeral, no autopsy done, no answers at all, until finally in December of 2019, authorities were able to get a judge's court order to exhume her body, get an autopsy done, and now we know this is a homicide by asphyxia for 49-year-old Tammy Daybell, who was in perfect health before her sudden death. But yes, this story all stems back to Arizona. Vallow leaving the state and moving to Rexburg, Idaho, to be closer to her boyfriend, really, at the time, after her own fourth husband had been shot and killed. And she's facing a murder conspiracy charge for that death as well here in Arizona, as she's sitting at the Estrella Women's Jail here in Maricopa County right now.
This trial, this case really took on some national attention. There was even a special done on Netflix kind of detailing all of this, a multi-episode special. Justin, you were part of that. Talk to us a little bit about the fascination that the public and what made this case so unique. For example, the fact that we've been throwing around this word of doomsday.
That's a great question. I mean, and the big question here for people that have been following this case for so long, how does a mom not know where her kids are? and how does she do something like this to her kids? And it's all based on this doomsday belief system that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell thought they are meant to lead a certain chosen group of people into the second coming of Jesus Christ. Apocalyptic events, doomsday events, all of that. They believed in this and believed they were chosen. And I know this sounds crazy, but their purpose to rid the world of dark spirits and zombies, and identified their own family members as dark, and anyone in their way or opposition, they considered them dark spirits. And this is all shown in police reports, text message evidence, and how they identified people that were basically against them. But in this case, these 3 innocent victims that got justice today, they knew nothing. They were not in opposition or obstacle to Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. But that wasn't the case for Vallow and Daybell. They thought that because they wanted to be together. We're talking about a 7-year-old kid and a 16-year-old girl and a 49-year-old wife, mother, and grandmother who did not see this coming. But I think it's the doomsday beliefs and that fascination with how this cult-like aspect could lead 2 people down this path.
We just have some footage here, of course, some aerial videos when they were digging up those bodies, exhuming those bodies from the backyard of the Daybell property. Justin, this has been a long road that you really have been kind of keened into since the beginning. Now that we have this death sentence for Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow spending the rest of her life in prison, do you see this as a conclusion, or is there more to this story that you think is going to come up?
I think we are so close. I think we're nearly there. I mean, really, this sentencing today marks the end of another chapter. Really, this saga has been going on for about 5 years almost. But for Lori Vallow, like I said, she still has that trial here in Arizona for 2 murder conspiracy charges. Chandler police believe she plotted with her brother, who's now dead, plotted with him to kill her 4th husband, who had a $1 million life insurance policy. We're talking about Charles Vallow. She did not receive the benefits because he had removed her as beneficiary, saying that she was threatening to kill him months before. So he saw this coming. Again, she's innocent until proven guilty, but police believe she conspired in that fatal shooting. And then as well, she's also accused of conspiring in the attempted murder of her former nephew-in-law, who was shot at in Gilbert as he was pulling into his driveway. He was also identified as being a dark spirit by this group of people listening and following Chad Daybell. So that trial's set for August 1st. It could be moved back. Not sure if it's going to stay that way. That's coming up soon. There's a lot of evidence there. 2 public defenders who are not as familiar with this long investigation. So we'll see what happens. But I think for family members, victims, they want to see justice in that case as well, even though she's already been sentenced to life in Idaho for those other 3 murders.
And then, Justin, just finally to kind of wrap up this segment, any final thoughts that you think the public should know about this case, this trial? It's so extensive. You can really go in so many different directions. What do you think that people should know?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think what we've learned from this is that some people, with the example of this case, religion and how it can sort of transform someone's philosophy on life. I think it's important what we took from family members of the victims. They say, check on your loved ones. Just kind of find out where they're at mentally. Because as we learned from this case in Lori Vallow's sentencing, she had been diagnosed with some mental health disorders as well, something called hyper-religiosity and another personality disorder, because she doubled down and never apologized to the court for what she did. In fact, she has still said there were no murders in this case. She said that during her sentencing just last year. So I just think that the lesson here is really checking on your family members and making sure that everyone just mentally is okay before things can just go down such a path as this. I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but all in all, today is a big day for this case, clearly.
It's an incredibly complicated and yet disturbing case that we've been following for years. Fox 10 investigative reporter Justin Lum, we appreciate your time. We've relied on your expertise throughout, and we look forward to checking in because there's still some things to look forward to in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.